In the 2015 NHL entry draft, the Buffalo Sabres select Connor McDavid with the first overall pick. Now that's right, I am doing a scenario where Buffalo wins the NHL draft lottery instead of it being Edmonton for their 4th in 6 years. Now this is a little different because I will be controlling 3 teams. I will be trying to spend equal amount of time with each team there. So let me get this all set up and then we can talk about this. Advanced settings, always no. And injuries off as always. Alright, let's get into this. Now, if you didn't know, the Buffalo Sabres had the worst overall record in the 2015 season. Let's take a quick look at the lines here actually before I get into this. Off. Now, we got Connor McDavid in there on the second line. Actually, I'm going to toss him up on the first. Get Gergensons up there, David Legwand, and then yeah, that looks fine, I guess. Who are we going to next? Let's go to the Oilers. We can check them out with Dylan Strome on the roster. Now this one you guys may not like, but I believe Edmonton would have allowed Dylan Strome to be on the roster given their history. But in order to do this, I had to kind of beef him up a little bit. I don't know if this can make it unfair or not, but those are his stats. I actually want to get him up here a little higher. Let's go ahead and, you know what, I want to switch Leon Draisaitl with him. I think Dylan Strome could do good on that second line. So yeah, let's get him right in there. And let's go ahead and take a look at Edmonton with Jack Eichel on the team. No, he can't be on that second line. I think I'm going to switch him just straight up with Vermette there. Alright, so that looks good. And we're going to spend a little bit of time with each team. First, let me talk about Arizona. Now, there was a lot of talk about them trading their pick, but clearly they didn't. And there's a lot of talk about them trading their pick this year for the draft. They'd probably trade Oliver Ekman-Larsson for the first overall pick just to get Austin Matthews. 1, because he's the best player in the draft, clearly. 2, because he's a hometown boy. He's from Phoenix, I believe. So yeah, I really don't think they will trade Oliver Ekman-Larsson, given the fact that he is a franchise defenseman. He's one of the best in the NHL. But like I said, there was a lot of talk about them trading their pick last year, and I think they got an absolute steal with Dylan Strome. Even though it was number 3, when there's 2 clear-cut 1 and 2 guys, Dylan Strome will be an all-star in the future. You just got to give him a little bit of time. He is not a superstar. He's not a franchise potential guy in NHL 16 like Eichel and McDavid. He needs a little bit of time to develop. You give him 3 or 4 years, and then he will be the absolute leader on that team. It will be him and Max Domi going off on this team. Now, they're clearly not doing so hot with Jack Eichel right now, 8-14-1. But that's perfectly all right. They are a rebuilding team right now. So let's go ahead and take a look at Buffalo, and we can talk about them a little bit. Now, they did have the worst record in 2015. I really think that they deserved the first overall pick, but they did get an American guy in Jack Eichel, so they can't really complain too much about that. They're an American team. They got an American. They're on the upswing of their rebuild right now. They got some solid guys like Ryan O'Reilly, Evander Kane. They just need to figure out a couple more things with the team before they can really be a playoff contender every single year, and then hopefully contend for the cup. But I'm gonna say this too: they got an absolute steal at number 2 in the draft. Even though there's a clear-cut number 1, any other year, including this year, I wholeheartedly believe that Jack Eichel would go #1 overall. I think he would go #1 overall in the past 3 drafts. I think he'd go over Nail Yakupov. I think he'd go over the Nuge. And I just think he is a fantastic player. And you see it. He is leading the Buffalo Sabres as a rookie. I believe he's got the most goals on the team. He's just fantastic. And if it wasn't for this year being a crazy year with Panarin and McDavid, he would definitely be Rookie of the Year too. Now, clearly, McDavid can't lead the Buffalo Sabres. They're 22-25-3. So they're struggling a little bit. But again, it's a better record than last year. So they're still building. They're getting up there. Now let's take a look at the Edmonton Oilers. They are 21-26-3. They're better than last year. And I know I said that with both the other teams, honestly. But you got to give them some time. Sure, they don't have McDavid on this team, but they still have a very solid player in Dylan Strome that I added to the team. They still have Taylor Hall. They still have the Nuge. They still have Yakupov. They have Draisaitl. They still have some holes in the lineup, as you see here, losing a crap ton of games. They still have a lot of players that can do good things for them. They just got to give them time to develop and not rush everybody onto their team like their history has shown. They got some good people in their management now, and hopefully they just don't screw up the development of all their players. They need to get some veterans in there. They need the veteran leadership, and Connor McDavid is going to be an absolute fantastic player for them. They have the brightest future of any NHL team right now. And I know Arizona is looking amazing for the future. I know Buffalo is looking amazing for the future. But I truly believe Edmonton in 3 to 4 years can be in the Stanley Cup Finals. That's how much I believe in that team with Connor McDavid. Now, clearly NHL 16 doesn't believe in this team. Let's take a look at all the points here, and we can really see how these guys did. Now, Edmonton, I really think, was hurting without McDavid. As you see, Dylan Strome only managed to get 34 points. 17-17 season for him. He was a minus player. He's not good defensively, as you see there. So yeah, he did not have a very good year, but he did improve. He went up 3 overall points, and he's only going to improve. Just like everybody else on this team, I guarantee you next year they will probably make the playoffs if they have McDavid, which they clearly will in real life. But this team is good. You just got to give them time to develop. Let's go ahead and take a look at Buffalo now and see how they did with Connor McDavid. Connor McDavid, 56 points. Clearly not what he's doing in real life. I really don't think that NHL 16 McDavid is a good representation of real life McDavid, because he never does quite as good as he does in real life. And I think he honestly is a better player than 89 overall. I think he needs to be rated at 90 or maybe 91. And he needs to be almost a point per game player. Like, he needs to be getting in 70 points. Now, clearly, he wasn't playing with the greatest players. I think he had Evander Kane and Ryan O'Reilly on his line. I think that's who I put there. Evander Kane can score. Ryan O'Reilly is not the greatest scorer, let's be honest. I know you see his offensive stats here, and they look solid, but he's not as good a scorer as Taylor Hall. He's not as good a scorer as Nuge. McDavid went from a team that had better offensive scorers to the Buffalo Sabres, who don't quite have as good as offensive players. Again, Buffalo has a huge upside with Jack Eichel on their team. They can't be worried about just what McDavid does here. Now, going to Arizona, wow, Jack Eichel only managed to get 40 points in his rookie year here. I think this really just goes to show that every team made the right pick in this decision. I mean, Arizona Coyotes, Edmonton Oilers didn't make the playoffs, and in the Atlantic, the Buffalo Sabres just missed out on the playoffs by 8 points. So yeah, I really think that each team really made the right decision in who they picked. and every team has a great looking future just based on these 3 picks. The 2015 draft will be a draft that goes down in history. Mark my words, it absolutely will. I think so many great players are going to come out of this draft. I think it's going to be like the 2003 draft in the NBA, or something like that. All I know is that Edmonton, you just got to believe, work hard, get some veterans on that team, and for God's sakes, get a goalie. Arizona, you guys, whatever you're doing, keep it up. Maybe add to your defensive core a little bit, but everything that you're doing, you need to keep doing it. Buffalo, you need a goalie and a good defenseman on that team, really. Actually, you know what, Edmonton, you guys need a good defenseman too. You guys just, you have so much potential offensively, all 3 of these teams, but there's just little things that need to be done. And clearly in NHL 16, it knows that too. They didn't make the playoffs for good reason. They'll get solid picks this year, and then next year they'd be even better. I guarantee you, if I could continue this in GM mode, all 3 of these teams would make the playoffs next year. These prospects are fantastic. I just think they got lucky to go to the teams that they did. So that'll be all for now then. If you have any more suggestions, leave them down in the comments there. And yeah, I think that'll just about do it. I've said all I can say about these teams. They all have really good upside. So that'll be all for now then. Until next time, I'll see ya.